It's only a few days ago, probably about 8-9 days ago, that I put together the first of these clips, and it was called Feeling Overwhelmed by the News. And what I was trying to do was to say to folks, look, the news is out there. What we can't do is make ourselves a slave to it, because it will bear down on us. And in that clip I suggested one or two things that we could do, and it's here on YouTube for you to find out, so it could be well worth you taking a look at it. But I've got some observations on where we are now, and some of the things that we might need to do to realign ourselves a little bit, because we're now, we're a week in, but the reality is, I think for a lot of folks, we're a bit more than that. We're probably about 10-12 days in, and it's beginning to bite. It's beginning to have an impact, and not necessarily a good one. Speaking to a few people, and I'm very lucky in that sense that I am able to connect with folks who I work with, and to have discussions with them about how we might be working differently moving forward. What does this mean for how we work, where we work, for authority, control, how we live our values and beliefs. Some quite deep stuff. But that's not the it, is it really? I think on a day-to-day basis for a lot of us right now, we're looking back at the way we have maintained our relationships and looking forward to about how we would like to make them different and better. And for a lot of challenges like this, it starts with us. It starts with me. It starts with you. A very wise former colleague of mine told me once, "I'll just look back, don't stare. Don't overthink stuff." And at the same time, that shouldn't stop us from saying, I do need to maybe make a few shifts and a few changes based on what I can make better. Now, nobody goes on a New Year's resolution with the intention of failing, but I just wonder about our New Year's resolutions. Are we sufficiently attached to them to make them stick? Because now I think we are in a time of newness. We are in a time where we're looking back and looking forward, and as we look forward, it's not all that clear. That shouldn't stop us resolving to do a few things differently, and that could be about the way we relate to our friends, the people we love, our family members, the way we relate to our workplace, both the people in our workplace and the whole purpose of work and what we need it for. Now, that's big stuff, and it's not to be handled here, but the question I would ask is, can we put a name to the changes we want to make, and can we make them stick? Where we are now, it takes me back to something I incorporated in a presentation I did to a group of people probably about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and it was the idea of a black swan moment. Until black swans were discovered, all swans were white. Yeah, you discover this is the same species, but it looks just completely different. And it kind of feels that we are now going through a very, very slow and a very powerful black swan moment that's swooping across the world. We thought we were in control of stuff like this, and it turns out that we're nowhere near as in control of it as we thought we were. What's happened before, it's been nowhere near as serious, or we've contained it. And that's had a real impact on the way we're living our lives. And let's see if we can just sort of get to the bones of what I think is causing so many people so much disquiet and discomfort. If we take for granted, dangerous I know, but if we take for granted that our needs to have some food, shelter, some water, and that we're basically safe, if those needs have been met, then we start to ask ourselves, well, look, you've got everything you want. What is the matter? Well, what is the matter is that our basic need to have choice of association has been confronted, because we've been told that we can't have as much association as we've been used to. And as a species, we are actually a collaborative and cooperative species. I think that's very much at our heart, and we like getting on with each other. We're a social species. So even though our day-to-day living needs are met, that lack of association, that freedom of association, it's very new, and it's very unsettling, and it's causing people a degree of stress and discomfort. You see, the thing with connectivity is that we've tended to, quite rightly, put it at the heart of relationships, and I think it goes much further than that. I think it's a very scaffolding that holds stuff together, and if that's not in place, we're not well able to build anything. We're not going anywhere without the scaffolding. We can stretch the metaphor, sure, we need the foundations. I've got all of that. But to reach outwards and upwards, we need that scaffolding in place, and that is a scaffolding of connectivity. So here's a few things that we can actually think about that check out our scaffolding. Because when we are with someone, we're there in the moment, but we also have a shared past, and we have an as yet undefined future. So if that is the case, we can quite legitimately ask each other, so where are you now? How are you now? And that can be almost a phrase that has no semantic value at all whatsoever. But if we ask it, how are you now, with some sincerity and depth, maybe we'll get a response that is actually checking out, look, this is how I'm feeling about things right now. We have shared past, and we have, when we're structuring conversations, when we're thinking about things, to say, look, is there anything from the past that reminds you of this? What happened? How did you deal with it? What are we doing there? Well, we're actually tapping into learned strengths that we just might have forgotten about, because at the moment stuff is quite overwhelming. So we can actually get quite practical about what is it you actually did. Now, this is about reaching out and helping other people, but it could also be about reaching inwards and helping yourself. And there's another really important question that I think needs asking, and it's about given the givens. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that the situation is what the situation is. We all know how we'd like it to be. We'd like it to be different, but that's actually not on the agenda at the moment. So given the givens, what could be better, and what could you do to bring improvements to you? And at that moment, I think the verbs are really important. What actions are you actually going to take, and what commitment? I've spoken to a few people today, and they've been very positive conversations. Nonetheless, I think for everyone, just given where we are at the moment, there is this kind of underlying feel of a quite cold and uncertain journey. We're not sure about what's ahead. So at this point, really, we need to, I think, look inwards and just ask ourselves a quite simple question, really: who and what do I love? And how does this inform my purpose? What do I give to that, and what do I receive from it? And that can be a relationship, it can be a purpose, it can be a job, it can be a role, it can be a piece of social connectivity. It's not for me to dictate what it is you should love or do love. I think it's maybe for us all to look inside ourselves and to ask, okay, what is it that I love? What purpose do I have, and how does that drive me? Moving on from that, I think what we give, what we receive is important, but also I think we need to take a look at self-love here. And I'm not for a minute considering narcissism as a healthy thing. I'm really talking about having regard for ourselves and just asking ourselves, look, am I kind to myself, or are there occasions that I spend beating myself up for no good reason at all whatsoever? And what's the impact of that? It never makes me feel any better. So if we take a look at the picture, if you can just look at where the road finally comes together, there's a sort of hint that there might be a community there, a town. And if you were on that road and you thought, right, I'm going to get to that refuge because when I get there it'll be all right, I will have some shelter, I'll have some warmth, I'll have some food, what would it actually be like? What would be going on there? And what would you like the people to be like? Most importantly, what could you add to it? Now, this is really important because I think it transcends all sorts of areas of activity for us. So it could be about relationships. It could be about volunteering. It could be about our hobbies, our interests. It could be about the way we work with people and about the way we honour our role within a community. If you can apply the above to the way you feel right now, so if you think about that and think, okay, what could I change right now? What actions would you take right now that could set you up so that when you get to this town, when you reach this point on your journey, you're actually in a good place to become a member of that community? What is it that you would say, I'm going to do this differently, and what would you like the outcome of that behaviour to be? Now look, that might be as simple as I'm going to diary 3 telephone conversations with people who I've not I've not connected with for a while. It might be I'm going to use Skype, I'm going to use FaceTime, Zoom, I'm going to use the technology that we've got available. So we've got available. So I am actually connecting with people, and I'm just going to see how it goes from there. So I think there's massive value in that. Somebody's just pinged me there, and I'm just going to leave it on there because we're well into this bit of the conversation, so please live with me. And let's just take a look at if we can define the outcomes that we would actually like to see, and then to pin some actions to them. So let's go back to the original, the first clip. Let's just reduce our news diet. Let's have breakfast, lunch time, and evening the way we've same way we eat our food. That's enough. And when we turned off the news, let's make that commitment to reach out and walk alongside someone. We're not going to be able to do that literally at the moment. That's just the way things are. But there are ample opportunities for connectivity. And you can take a look back at some of the ideas covered here that might help you think about how you want to shape the conversation. These things take practice, but when you've done it, just take a note of how you feel. And hopefully it will have awakened a sense of connectivity and purpose within you. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling grateful for that and feeling better about having done it. What I feel is really important is to ask ourselves, well, what is it I have done here? And where's it taking me? And if it's a good thing, can I repeat it and can I extend it? And if the answer to that is yes, then do that. Now, in conclusion, I know from my connections dozens, scores of really good, well-motivated, kind, decent human beings who have got such huge potential to reach out and just to make a tiny bit of the world much better. It's my belief that if we all did that, we could have a massive and significant change. And maybe it's a good time now to prepare ourselves for that. Because what we're finding out is, I think at this moment, is just how much we need to value each other. So there are some actions here that you can take. I'm going to put a book up on Flipsnack for you to download. If you want to take a look at that, there'll be a reference for it. And please, again, I need to emphasise, if you want to get in touch with us, please do. Absolutely no fees charged. This is far more important, I think, than income generation. This is about generating a future capital that is going to have much more power than money. So to all of you, reach out to somebody and journey well. Stay safe. Bye bye now.